your views of homosexuality?
Before I went to Michigan State here, I wasn't too familiar with it, but Michigan State does a great job of being open to the LGBT community. I don't have very strong views on homosexuality. If I guess I had to pick one, I would support the gay and lesbian community. I think that being able to support them is better than all the hate crimes and other types of crime that goes on in the community.
I believe it's a personal choice, that it's up to the individual, and there's nothing wrong with it, and it should be embraced by those that choose to live that way.
I would say that it's just fine, considering I'm a gay man myself, so probably positively.
I think to each his own. Personally, I'm straight, but I feel like to each his own. Whatever makes you happy, makes you happy.
Yeah, basically, personally, I accept it.
As long as they love each other, love makes the world go round.
Okay.
More love, the better.
And how do you think churches overall handle the issue of homosexuality?
I don't know how much, openness they have to it. From my experience, they haven't. It's been a neglected type of subject. I don't want to say ignorance, but it's just shunned upon, I guess, in a lot of churches. And I was hoping there could be more understanding and more education towards the community. I understand the faith implication towards it, being a person in faith myself, but not positively, to be blunt about it.
I think some churches handle it differently than others. A lot of churches are open to, homosexuality, while others are so strict that they even go about as doing terrible things. And I think some handle better than others, but it's definitely a heated issue, I think, in church. And
Well, I'll tell you what my pastor says. As long as they love each other.
I think every church is different. I saw some churches that are not really too welcoming of it, but then again, I've been to other churches that are. So I think that it all depends on the church and the people that are working behind the scenes of the church. So
I'm actually in the discernment process to become a priest in the Episcopal Church, so I would say they handle it pretty well.
There are a few that are starting to get the right idea, but for the most part, they don't handle it very well because they're not willing to talk about it. They're not really willing to open a dialogue to get both sides and to understand, that they're people too. There's no difference between them, me, the next person on the street.
If a church or an individual, a Christian, believes that homosexuality is an unbiblical lifestyle, so they don't agree with the behavior, yet they treat the person with kindness, love, respect, would you have a problem with that?
Only in principle, because, you're not being true to yourself, so then there's a whole different set of issues there. I mean, if it's going to be with homosexuality, well, then it's going to be with rapists, then it's going to be with murders. It's just going to be extrapolated to all those things that, people don't want to talk about.
The problem is you can't fundamentally deny who someone is as a human being and in the same breath say that you lovingly accept them, because the two statements are fundamentally different. So for a church to come to someone and say, you are fundamentally disordered as a person, but we accept you, doesn't make sense, and it leads the individual to either reject their denomination, reject their religious teachings, and go somewhere else, or choose not to go to church at all, or to start to hate a part of who they are, which can't be removed. You can't cut off this limb. So no, I don't think it's a statement that can truly be made.
So you would respect the position they took as long as they were kind and loving to a person that was living the homosexual lifestyle?
yeah.
Well, what about you?
Yeah, I accept that church.
I think that it would be a contradiction if they thought that the scripture said that it's immoral, but they are loving to that person. Yeah, I do think it would be a contradiction, but if that's what they chose to do, that's what they chose to do. I wouldn't just say, okay, I'm not going to go to that church for that reason. So
it's interesting. What would be the contradiction in being loving to somebody you don't necessarily agree with?
I think the contradiction would be if if they're having a service and they're saying this is immoral to do this and you shouldn't do that and it's against God, but then they're like right there with that person and stuff like that, then they're contradicting themselves and then they're contradicting what they're preaching. That's not to say that I would just like disregard somebody that's homosexual or something like that, because I wouldn't do that. But I'm just saying if that's what that church was preaching and they did that, that would be a contradiction of what they're saying in church. And I've saw people actually do that. So
I absolutely would support that person entirely. I think that as long as you can express your opinion in a very respectful manner and be able to express it openly and talk about it and be educated upon it, it doesn't matter what your opinion is as long as you communicate it in a respectful way. So you just described to me a very, very respectful and honorable way to deal with the LGBT community.
I appreciate your time. Thank you.